This has been a long time coming. For every update of the R15 is a big deal because this motorcycle right here transformed the way we look at sport riding in India for good and has been doing so with every subsequent update. And Yamaha intends to do exactly the same with this, the R15M. Now this is the 4th generation R15 and this time around they have relied heavily on the recently launched R7 in terms of its design language. And the end result is an R15 which is perhaps the best looking and the most proportionate that we have ever seen. I especially love the front end, the bifunctional LED headlight and also these leading LED headlights on the side which give it a proper big bike look. And of course, it also gets what we have been waiting for so long, which is upside down forks in this superb gold trim. And taking the bragging rights further, on the R15M is the special paint scheme matched with a grey swing arm and a grey exhaust cover. You get a golden brake caliper, you get special seats, and you also get the forks which have this blue top caps. On the tech front, you get traction control, you get a new dash which has a dedicated track mode and a lap timer, and you get quick shifter which is standard on the R15M and the R15 version 4 Racing Blue edition. And more importantly, I'm happy to report that this one still goes as good as it looks. The engine is essentially the same. 155cc liquid cooled mill, makes about 0.1 PS less, 0.1 Newton meters more, but more importantly, now you can access all 14.2 Newton meters of torque, 1000 RPMs earlier at 7500 RPM. Also where the engine switches to the higher cam and then you see the R15 rush to the top end with the same gusto that we have always experienced and loved on the version 3. So yeah, thanks to the VVA, the mid-range and the top end are still really impressive on the R15M. But I was surprised to see that despite the torque kicking in earlier, the low end is still quite poor. And also in the top end, the bike gets quite loud, but luckily that doesn't translate to more vibes. In terms of refinement, it's really refined. It's really smooth, and the same concept also trickles down to the gearbox, which is an absolute delight to work with. It's really silky, it's really precise, it's really smooth to shift both up and down. And also you have the slip and assist clutch, which means the lever is very nice and light to operate. It also does a phenomenal job of mitigating rear wheel hop even under aggressive downshifts. Show the R15M a corner and it'll really feel at home. Revised bodywork, the shape of the tank and the seat allows you to properly hold on to the bike like on a big motorcycle. And also there's a lot of room for you to move around. Even the seat allows you to scoot all the way back, get into a proper tuck. And even in terms of ergonomics now, I think it's a little more committed with the clip-on sitting maybe a little bit lower. And they're wide enough to provide really good leverage going into a corner. And once into the corner, you feel really good, really sure-footed despite its short wheelbase. Thanks to the Delta Box frame, which is supremely communicative, which then allows you to exploit the colossal 170 mm of cornering clearance that you have at your disposal. The suspension setup is on a softer side and you will feel it more so when you go to a racetrack and if you're a little on the bigger side, because neither front or the rear are adjustable. But these 37 mm upside down forks, thanks to the improved rigidity, I think they strike a good balance between sporty riding and plush ride quality. The biggest compromise now I feel are the brakes, and that's mainly down to the ABS system being overly intrusive, which robs you of both feel as well as stopping power. And I think that came to me as a big surprise given how committed Yamaha have been otherwise when it comes to the R15M. I mean, make no mistake, this is a proper small capacity sport bike which you can take to the racetrack and hone your skills and also ride on the road. So in terms of the ergonomics, it's not very comfortable over long distances. The rear seat is tiny, and also when you look at the quick shifter and the traction control, it showcases this racy nature of the R15M, which will undoubtedly help it stand out in this really competitive segment. And while I appreciate Yamaha going all in staying true to the genes of the R15 rather than go for a machine and make it into a jack of all trades and master of none, I think they've gone a little too high in terms of the pricing, because the R15 version 4 in Racing Blue costs about 17,000 more than its predecessor, and this one, the R15M, costs almost 24,000 more. And it is cost which is a little difficult to justify, considering that the quick shifter isn't the smoothest to operate and doesn't always work, especially with the engine under full load. And also the traction control, to be honest, on a 150cc bike, it's a novelty. You're not really going to need it unless you are stuck in the trickiest and the wettest of conditions. To summarize, Yamaha have undoubtedly given us the R15 that we have always wanted. It finally looks the part. It looks like a proper super sport machine from the Yamaha stable. And it's undoubtedly one of the sharpest tools that you can buy if you're new to motorcycling and want to learn the art of cornering. But by pricing it this high, it's unfortunately lost its value for money tag, which it was always associated with, because this tech, as good as it sounds, it doesn't quite work as well as it should to justify this massive bump in its price tag.